Introduction to Cloud Computing, Google Apps Premier Setup. In the world of cloud computing, there are many software as a service providers, but one of the biggest is Google, which makes its Gmail, Google Docs, Google Sites, and other applications free to personal users. But since you're taking your small to mid-sized business into the cloud, there's going to be some charge for using these in greater amounts with greater flexibility. In this CBT Nugget, we're going to go over all you need to at least get Google Premier set up. Now just remember, all these screens are subject to change over time as well as pricing that you see. So keep that in mind as we begin. For our Google Apps setup, we're first going to take a look at some things you need to know before you begin, a sort of little checklist to think about. Then we'll go through the sign up process. We'll actually run you through how you're going to sign up for your Google Apps Premier and some other things. Then we'll begin, once we get through all of that and verifying, we're going to create users. Then we're going to activate the email. Now, of course, in the real world, it'll take a little bit longer than what you see here. And then we'll take a quick look at some other settings that you have in the administrative panel for Google Apps. Now, before you even get started getting set up with Google Apps, the one thing you do want to be able to do, because you're going to be required to do it throughout this process, is be able to access your domain settings, whether you're going through your host or whether you actually have your own internet presence and you're doing this internally. Make sure you can access the domain settings. Be prepared to wait. It can take up to 48 hours for MX records to change over when you do your CNAMEs and to verify things, so there might be some little bit of downtime there, so just be aware of that. If you are going to do this with the mail exchangers, you want to create all the user accounts in Google Apps first, so that way that the mail that's sent to your domain is going to be received after you change over your MX records. So if you have any mailing lists or nicknames at the domain when you change your MX records, recreate these in the control panel, and you might even want to create a catch-all address that will allow that that if anything comes to Google, MrCBTNuggets.com, it automatically just goes to this email address for now until everything gets set up. Transition at night or over the weekend. That's just good IT maintenance, guju, as I like to call it. You want to make sure that you do that right. Transition at night or the weekend so you're not affecting your people in the middle of a busy, productive day. And let everyone know about the changes. Send out emails beforehand. Hey, this weekend we're going to be doing this. If you have any problems, here's who you need to talk to. Here's the telephone number. Here's the web mail and everything that's going to go out. So once you've already viewed this and you start doing it yourself, you're going to be able to do this really well. Now, believe it or not, it's pretty easy to find your way to Google's Premier, or Google Premier, which is basically a way for you to get much more expanded options and usability in Google's apps, like Google Docs, Gmail, the calendar, the video, and things like that. Now, to get there, you'll notice down on your regular Google, if you just go to google.com, they have business solutions. So if we click on business solutions, you are going to be given a list of all kind of really neat things that you have access to. Now, there are a lot of other things that are beyond the scope of this CBT Nugget, like AdWords. If you really like to get good search results on your business, they talk about that. Google Analytics, so if you want to take a look at your websites and how things work, like if someone clicks, how much money do you make based upon that? And there's other things in here. I mean, you got AdSense, Local Business Center, Searchable, Checkout if you want a Merchant Center, Postini services, which we mentioned. If you don't want to go to Gmail Premier or the Google Premier, you can get the Postini services, or Postini services, depending on who you talk to, and you can utilize your own existing enterprise system, and it will then send the email through this, which will give your spam and virus protection, archiving, and encryption before it hits your exchange. So you can get really good, and I got to tell you, Google has great spam filters. I think most of you who have used it personally will know that. Google Maps, website optimizers, there's a lot of really neat things, but the one that we're going to concentrate on is, of course, Google Apps. So if you click on Google Apps, it's going to take you to the Google Apps for Business official website, and here you're going to see that it tells you all of the things that you get access to with Google Apps. You get Gmail if you use the business version. You get 25 gigs of storage. all the enhanced email security. You have the calendar system. You can use the Google Docs, Google Groups for mailing lists, all kinds of things, Google Sites, and of course Google Video. If you like something like your own private hosted video sharing, things like your own company YouTube, yeah, that's basically what you're doing right here with Google Video. They also have some good helpful information, especially if you want some more information about switching from Microsoft Exchange or Lotus Notes, some things like that. You can do that. Now, what you're going to want to do is down here, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll notice over here under Get Started, there is the 30-day free trial. And that's what I'm going to recommend for most of you, is to do the 30-day free trial, try it out, see how it works, and if you like it, great, keep it. If you don't, you can just cancel it anytime. Or you can even try a demo account. Now, demo accounts are kind of cool, but they're not exactly everything you would expect, because number one, you're using their domain names and DNS entries and a lot of other things. So that's just something to kind of remember for that. There is of course the sync for Microsoft Outlook, which sets up something that you can use. You can switch from Microsoft, switch from Lotus, and they give you those things. I highly recommend, if you are going a complete switchover, check out these on Google's website. But we're going to show you the basics of just how to get started, get signed up, and start utilizing these cool resources for your cloud computing environment. So we'll click on the Gmail's or the Google Apps 30-day tryout. So to sign up, notice it says you need an organization's domain name. You need a real domain, which means it's out there on your own and you own it. It can't be a shared or third-party domain. You can't use live.coms and Gmail's thing to use it. You have to use your own. So we're going to say ours is MrCBTNuggets.com, which is ours. So once we do that, we'll go ahead and continue the sign up, and it brings in for the Google Apps Premier Edition. Now to get started, you just fill out a few details for the organization, number of users. It tells you exactly how much it's going to be, $50 per user per year, billed annually. So every year you'll get this annually on your billing there, so that's not a problem. So in my case, I'm just going to go ahead and go with 3 users. You can put as many as you want. The size of the organization is simply how many people are in the organization. So you could say, well, we're going to have 3 users, but maybe you're going to say we have 10 people that's working. What's the organization's? Mr. CBT Nuggets. What type it is. I mean, these are all standard things for what you're trying to do. We're of course an educational institution. What country? We'll go ahead and put in my name. We'll go ahead and use the Gmail one right here, so you can use that existing one, and your phone number. So we'll do 520-555-1234. Which is what it's going to be, and your current email solution. So we are using a hosted web email system. We of course had GoDaddy.com give us our email our email program along with our domain. So we're going to use that. Now for you might have something different. You could have a exchange. Here's the different exchange. Lotus Notes, good old Novell's GroupWise, still out there, still going strong. Maybe there's a hosted exchange where it's not, you don't own the exchange machines, you're using somebody else's, and so that's one option. And so we'll go ahead and just say, yep, we're using a hosted web email system. Now at this point, it does tell you if you don't complete the registration process and you click continue, it will invite you. In other words, you're going to get an email to your regular email from Google saying, hey, notice you tried this out. Would you like to try a 30-day? And so you will get contacted, just FYI. So we're going to say, yep, we're going to go ahead and click continue and move on. Once you click the continue, it is going to tell you that you can try out the Google Apps Premier Edition for 30 days, and they will authorize the credit card once you get through the setup and the checkout, but you will not be charged until the 30-day free trial period. You need to cancel before that, otherwise you will get charged. So basically we'll say we want to add 3 user accounts. It tells you since you're from the United States, you're going to be paying in United States dollars, the cost per user. Here's your total annual cost. And real simple. And you can add, by the way, at any point in time during your program, any day of the week, 24/7, you can go in and go, oh, we just added 2 more employees. Well, add more users. You can add those from your administrative desktop user or little control panel that they give you. So don't worry about that. You will need to, of course, accept the infamous terms and conditions, and these are pretty standard about privacy and aliases and taxes and how they all run. And you can always print that out and have your lawyers and your legal team look at it if you want to before you agree to do this. And once you do that, you go ahead and accept and proceed to Google's checkout. Now, once you click on that, it's going to pop you out over right here into your order details and about how much you are going to have. Now, you can use Google's checkout. If you already have a Google account or a Google checkout account for that, you can go ahead and do that. Or if you want to create a new Google account for that, you can go ahead and then you can associate, of course, a credit card number and fill out this particular information, what your shipping address is, choose whether you want to accept any emails or special offers, and then agree and to continue. And then, of course, on the next page, it's going to go ahead and tell you do you agree to everything. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this and go ahead to the end, and so that way you're not seeing credit card information or anything like that once I click through this after we've already set this up. So we will see you here in just a second as we continue to go ahead and set up our Google Apps. So once we've all done everything, and again, you didn't see me put in my credit card information and click yes, I want to buy this, because it had some private information on the screen. But you can see at the very end, once you've successfully inputted your credit card for that system, however many you do, it will say thanks, you've been ready to go, and now it says you can access your Google Apps domain. And so what you're going to want to do is go in and now set it up so that you can operate your Gmail with the appropriate domain names and access. You can set up your user accounts for Google Docs, and that's what we're going to do next. So we're going to go ahead and pause this video. We're going to go ahead and show you how we log in and get ready for that. So once you've clicked on the Retrieve My Service, in other words, I've signed up, I'm ready to go, you're going to get into the setup area. Now, here, the first thing we're obviously going to have to do is create your first administrator account. And so, and by the way, they also email instructions to that email that you set up for. So in fact, my MrCBTNuggets.com, let's say I didn't have enough time to start setup, I can go back to my email and it'll have a little link I can click on to continue this. So we're going to go ahead and just say, a real easy one is admin@MrCBTNuggets.com. But if you don't want it to make it that obvious because of security reasons, some people like to call it super boss or whatever you want, or just use a name of the person. That way, if anyone's trying to get that information, they can't really guess. And if you have dictionary hackers and stuff like that just run through names, you can do it. But because, just for simple showing you and to help me remember, I'm just going to go with admin@MrCBTNuggets.com. Or, make it even better, admin nugget. How about that? Admin nugget. So we can remember that. Now the password we just put in, and you want to make it a good one there. So at least 6 characters in length. Continue with the setup, and now we're on our way to get our Google Apps set up. So the first thing that Google Apps is going to do is, number one, to check to make sure that you actually own MrCBTNuggets.com. Now, I said that in the setup, but they want to make sure. Now, the nice thing is, you can come in here and you can either upload an HTML file. So if you can upload files to MrCBTNuggets.com, if you have an FTP set up and you can put those onto your domain, this is good. Or you can change your MrCBTNuggets.com CNAME record. Now, I'll go ahead and use this one because this is one that I'm able to do at this particular stage with the way I have my domain set up in my website. So we'll go ahead and do change MrCBTNuggets.com CNAME record. We click continue. So once you do that, you can notice change CNAME records to verify that you own Mr. CBT Nuggets. That's real simple. You're going to go into your domain hosting service. In my case, it's GoDaddy.com. That's where I set up MrCBTNuggets.com. And you're going to go to the DNS management page. You can then go ahead and create a unique string, point the CNAME record to Google.com, and then once you've done that, you come down and you do click on here and it will then come up, and then that way they know that, hey, you made that change, so that way when the request on your browser goes out and tries to find this, the DNS knows that that points to Google's website. The only person that can do that is, of course, going to be you, because you have administrative rights. So that's why they make sure that you do that. So it takes a little bit of time, and I'm going to go ahead and set up everything behind the scenes. Just go to your domain hosting service and follow the steps to change a CNAME or create a new CNAME record for the domain, so that way it'll be able to point to it. So just to show you, I'm going to add a new CNAME record. And remember, I told you I didn't want you to see how I logged in and did everything, but under GoDaddy's Domain Manager, under Total DNS Control, you can come in here and do this. You click on Add CNAME Record. Now this is where you're going to put in, remember we had that particular string of information back here under Google, and so I went ahead and took that and copied that. Going to paste it in here. This is the alias name, and you're going to say that points to google.com. Points to google.com. So once you've done this and you're ready to go, we're going to go ahead and say, let's do this, and we'll go back and we're going to hit verify. So I'm going to pause for just a second and we'll come right back. Okay, so now we're back here, and remember I went ahead and created a new CNAME record. Whenever this is put in front, it will go to the Mr. CBT Nuggets, like you see here, Mr. CBT Nuggets. It will then go to google.com. So we go ahead, we click on this, and it's going to go ahead and bring us right to Google. We've done it. So it's great. Now we know that this is working. So I'm going to go ahead and go back here. Just click on the back arrow, bring it back to here. I'm going to click on I've completed the steps above, and now we'll continue on when setting up our Google Apps. Now the nice thing is that if there are a lot of nifty little things that are beyond the scope of just doing this in a CBT Nugget, we could spend a couple hours showing you all the nifty things with Google Apps. So what they have is the Google Apps Setup Guide, and I'm going to recommend that you go through it and do so. Now we're going to go ahead and do at least the creating the user accounts and setting up the mail to show you how to do that. And then to configure mail clients and mobile devices, the good news, like Microsoft Outlook, and if you have BlackBerry devices, they've got little applications that you just click on, download, click on it, boom, and you're ready to go. It'll automatically populate the information that's necessary to Outlook as well as BlackBerry. So we're going to go ahead and skip this guide and continue on and start setting up our user accounts here on our dashboard for Google Apps. So now here we are in our setup and our dashboard, and of course all you need to do to get into the Google Apps is to sign in with your admin nugget at mrcbtnuggets.com, and then just go to your dashboard, which of course is going to give you just a basic overview of what's going on. Of course it will allow you, if you haven't done so, to continue with the setup guide if you want to. It'll also let you know that you have, here's your account information, the domain names that are associated with this. We've got mrcbtnuggets.com as well as mrcbtnuggets.com.testgoogle a.com, which is another one that I set up just to kind of play around with. So you have those that are all associated with this particular account. They show you that 7 days over the last 90 days, how many active users? Well, we just started, so there are none. We have the one admin user, and of course we can create new users. Now look down here. We'll get to this in just a little bit. Our Google Docs is active. It's docs.google.com. mrcbtnuggets.com, that's set up for us. We have our sites, which is set up for us. We even have our video, where we can do that and get the mobile apps on your mobile device, which is kind of cool. Your calendar is also active. It's all hosted and set up for mrcbtnuggets.com. But notice the email is not active because we haven't set it up, and neither is the Postini services, because these are connected. Until you activate the email and get it into place, these aren't going to run. So if you see this, don't panic and go, oh no, I installed this and it's not working. No, you just have to get these set up, which we're going to show you how to do it. Now you of course can add more services as well. Again, that's way beyond the scope of what we're going to be able to do in this one CBT Nugget. But let's start off by creating some new users. We obviously have the admin user, so we're going to create a new user here, and we're going to put in, of course, you know it, my good buddy James Conrad, and we'll just put it as James at mrcbtnuggets.com. Now there is a temporary password that they will suggest that can be used. And we're going to go ahead and set up our own password, though. So I'm going to go ahead and set up his right there. And okay, of course they match. The password is set. We go ahead and we click create the new user. And now they're going to be able, James is going to be able to log in to this particular thing. Now it's going to show you. Here's your username is James. Here it is, your new email address, james at mrcbtnuggets.com. That's great. When they come in and they want to be able to sign in to domain services, here's the email link. Here is the calendar, doc, chat, sites, all those kind of things. You can even email these instructions to James and have him set up. You can edit the setting for James, but let's go ahead and create another user. So I'll go ahead and create it. And another of my good buddies at CBT Nuggets, Mr. Jeremy Chara. So Jeremy is going to now have his Jeremy at mrcbtnuggets.com. You know, of course, Jeremy from the Cisco security and CCIE and a lot of the Cisco side of things. And so now I've got Jeremy in there. So I'll go ahead and set him up a password and put that in. Go ahead and create the new user. So that's all set up. So now Jeremy's going to have his set up, and so now I have my 3 users in play for you know what it is, Jeremy, and it tells you all the instructions, and you can go back to that. Create another user. You can do some other things like that. So we'll go back to the user list, and we can see that we have my list of 3 user limit for the domain. I've got them. There's me. There's my username, James and Jeremy. They're newly created. They've never logged in. And check this out. You can even download the user list as a CSV. So if you need this information and create it for a spreadsheet or something that you want to send out or email or keep track of, you can go ahead and click that. Notice this is users and then of course groups. If you wanted to, you could set up groups and then place the users in the appropriate area. It makes it easier to communicate and collaborate with dynamic teams. In other words, a group can have their own set or space where they're utilizing documents. So you can have your engineering department only working together and communicate with each other. They can send one email to the group, everybody gets it. Very similar to what you find with Outlook and some of your other programs that you utilize. So again, cloud computing gives you a lot of the same things that we have. So we might create a new group here. We're going to say it's going to be instructors. And we'll just say instructors at mrcbtnuggets.com. And this is all the cool instructor, I should say not all because there are many and they're not all here. Some of the cool instructors at CBT Nuggets. So you put all this information in, and you're going to be able to, change the settings and the access level. So here you can see access level can be set for the team that anyone in mrcbtnuggets.com can post messages and view the members. You can also allow anyone on the internet to post messages utilizing the instructors. Announcement only owners can post messages and view it, or restricted, only members can post the messages and view the members list. Again, this is going to be something that your mileage may vary what you want to do. We'll go ahead and say I'm going to allow anyone in Mr. CBT Nuggets to be able to do that. And that's pretty, able to do that. So you can add all the users within this domain to this group. So if I go ahead and add everybody, then everybody's in the group. Or you can go back in and add one by one. You can actually put that person in. So we'll go ahead and just add all the users, create the new group, and bada bing, bada boom, it's going to be set up and ready to go for us. So we now have the new. Now you can also, of course, change the group information, delete the group. You can have the roles and permissions within the group that you can set up that we saw, so you can make changes to this. So we'll go ahead and cancel that and move back. And again, there are a whole bunch of things that you're going to be able to do here. They're all users within Mr. CBT Nuggets. Now we can, of course, click in here and we can remove all these members. So if you need to remove members and now there are no members in there. Or you can type in, let's go ahead and just type in James. So once you have the James in there, you can add him as a member. And, so we can go ahead and add him. And there we go, James Conrad, James at Mr. CBT Nuggets. Let's go ahead and add Jeremy. So we go ahead and add Jeremy. Go ahead and click Add. And it's going to go ahead and add Jeremy too. So now Jeremy and James are now part of this thing. So James and Jeremy are all members of this, and so we can, go ahead and do that. So that's how we can do that. So you can go back to groups, or you can in fact go back and click on users and groups. If you want to add more, you can buy more accounts. You can do a lot more things set up for there. Now the settings right here is where you can come in and start making some settings for particular groups and contacts, whether you want to manage a user accounts using your own user management system. Well, you would need to have a provisioning API in place. You would click on that, and one thing is, for those of us are overseas and international clients, this is only available in English. You can also set up a single sign-on page. So you can do like Gmail or Calendar, Google Talk, those type desktop applications. You still have to sign in directly with their Google Apps username and password, whereas if you want to use single sign-on, SSO, you can do that for the sign-in page for your Mr. CBT Nuggets. You can adjust your password settings. These are all things that you can do. Do you want to share contacts within the domain? Do you want to disable this? These are some of the many different things you can do under the users and groups. So that's set up users and group. Now let's go ahead and set up our email. So let's go back to our dashboard. Click on dashboard. It'll bring us on back here. And down here we're going to see that we need to activate the email. Now when you click on activate email, it's going to go through and get us through the setup process for my Mr. CBT Nuggets. Now to do this, you are going to need to change the mail exchange records for that particular mail. So in other words, out there on the internet, when your mail is out there, it needs to be routed to your domain. But the problem is, right now, my MX records, my mail exchange records, point to GoDaddy. So that doesn't help me. All my mail still goes there, and it's not going to be sent to my users that I have in here. Now the nice thing is that it automatically set up. If you're not ready to change your MX records, you can go ahead and just do the username at mrcbtnuggets.com.test-google.a. So that way it will allow you to use this, and in the meantime. So if you know this is going to take you a little while, for a week, you can say, hey everybody, here is your new email right now, and set it back. Now you can also notice there's a whole bunch of different hosters that are out there, because remember I said this is a hosting, and there's even more that are up here. EveryDNS, GandhiNet, GoDaddy is the one that I use. They know that because I had already set up my canon name, my C name through GoDaddy, so they automatically populated through that. So whichever one you have, go ahead and just select that, and they have instructions on it. And now of course some of them are maybe a little bit different. You might have some changes for that, but feel free to just go through, and you can say any hosting company up here at the top, just off the page here, so you can see it, and choose that. You can also log in to GoDaddy. It will tell you about managing the domains. Click the domain you like to use with Google Apps. From there, you're going to add the total DNS, and here is where you're going to change by clearing out every single one of the MX records. Now this is why, at this point in this CBT Nugget, I want to warn you, make sure that you have everything set up and you're able to go back and you can restore things if things don't work. And make sure you understand the principles right there. Now what you're going to do is you're going to then add the new MX records. And so right here is the names that are going to be put in here, the emails that you're going to have to want to put in. So for each one, you're going to put in this particular information, and then click continue, click add, and then you're going to have your DNS manager, and you're going to go on. I'm going to go ahead and do this. We're going to pause. This obviously will take just a little bit of time, and we want to make sure you just see the results of it back in my Google Apps. So as you can see, I went ahead and I've added all the mail exchange records to my domain. So everything from my ASP mail exchanger through Google, your alternatives, and your exchange for Google Mail, and they put all these in. You put in the appropriate priorities, the hosting, the weeks, and of course if you needed to, you can always add another one right there. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. It's going to be down here. Come back to my particular page here. Notice it says you're going to do all of these things. Make sure it's set up and ready to go, and then once it's ready, you go ahead and you click I've completed these steps. So boom, we're back here, and once we've completed that, and you'll notice that it's going to tell you that your email is updating. They're going to check your MX records for your domain, test them out, see how it might work. It can take up to 48 hours to complete. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that we pause for a little bit and finish this CBT Nugget up and show you what it looks like. So don't worry, you don't have to wait 48 hours. You're going to see it here in just a second. Also, just a reminder, don't forget to check out our one of our other CBT Nuggets, where we're going to show you how to do the docs, the sites, the calendar, how you can utilize that in your environment. And coming up next in the series is, of course, email for the end user. So now that your users are wanting to start using Gmail, and if they haven't done it before, check out the next one. You're going to have a good time seeing how you can use email as an end user. And you can go ahead and point your employees on how to do this and show them how to do it. Real good training, and they'll be ready to go. Now, while this is finishing up, and you notice that even already it is updated the Google servers, and it's going to take it 1 hour, so they've already verified the MX records. I'll go ahead and just show you a couple other cool tools that you have. You not only have the users and groups, which we've already seen right here, setting those up. You also have your domain settings, which are also going to allow you to change your organization's name. Do you want to provide notes for your users in case they need help, like password reset instructions, what language you're using, time zones, those kind of things. This is good because there are pre-release features like new applications and things that will be, pushed out to all of your users. By default, this is not checked, so that way, if they might in beta format or they might cause some problems, and plus you don't even know, all of a sudden there's a new tool with file sharing within the program, and you're like, what? Wait, no, that's against company policy, and you didn't even know about it. So by default, just so you know, these are not checked. Hide all advertisements for this domain, so any of your domain advertisements won't show up. I mean, you can set those up with your Google ads and things like that. Your account information is set up right here also with the domain, so you can have what account type, you can buy more user accounts, cancel if you don't like it, delete the whole entire kit and caboodle for cbtnuggets.com. You can do that. If you want to add any other domain names, domain aliases, you can. Like if you have a corp.mrcbtnuggets.com, you can add that, so that way the users can have the same mailbox with multiple email addresses. So Pat's at mrcbtnuggets.com would also get Pat at corp.mrcbtnuggets.com email would still come, and Pat could, of course, or Jeremy or James could then set their filters and labels up so that it puts the ads it automatically as it comes in. So that's kind of cool. And then here under appearance, this is what a lot of people kind of like. They go, we're paying money for this. We want to put our own logo on this. So just to kind of leave you with this is the last little kind of cool thing here. You can do a custom logo set up, and I'll go ahead and click on the browse here, and I got my CBT Nuggets there, but I think that one is a little big, so we'll go to the small one right here, logo 1. We go ahead and click on that. We go ahead and show this logo in all the sites that users create, of course, because we're all about Mr. CBT Nuggets, and see, now it shows up as the custom logo, good to go, purple. We're all set, ready to go. So this is how it's going to show up. That's our custom logo that's set up right there. Also, advanced tools. This is a little bit beyond the scope of this CBT Nugget, but you can use user account bulk updates. So you can do directory sync with LDAP directory servers. Let me think. What's an LDAP directory server? Yeah, that's right, Active Directory. So you can utilize that. Download the App Sync client application that can be utilized for that. You can use your authentications, advanced password settings. You can control the length. You can monitor their password strength and say you've got to have at least 6 characters. It has to use uppercase, lowercase. You can do all those kind of things. Some federated logins using OpenID, third-party authorization client accesses, reporting, free busy service for calendar. So there's a lot of really neat things going on. Now, you can also migrate your accounts to Google Apps from an IMAP server, and you can do that if you already have that. You also have API references, so if you have programming and everything else, you can, we saw that earlier, some of the desktop features. and user email uploads. So you can, all their old accounts can be put into the Google Apps email. So there's a lot of migration functionality that, again, check out the user guide and setup guide, and it will allow you to do that. If you need support, clicking on support, there is the admin help center, community forums. End users can utilize, just like in your regular Gmail account, they're going to be able to do that. And then, of course, because you are a customer, they will allow you to come in and do email and phone support. So that way, if you're like, I just need this and I can't find it in the help center, I can't find it, and I don't have a lot of time. Well, you can go ahead and use a phone number for service unusable issues. Those are going to be the ones where, hey, everything's broken and I can't get it to work. What am I going to do? So again, that is all that we can do with that type of environment, and that's some of the cool things that we have as admins for our Google Apps. And so just to show that it works, and we waited a little bit, now you can notice your email is now active with the mail.google.com with the A record for the MrCBTnuggets.com, and then you're going to want to go ahead and go into Postini services and activate that. But that's going to be in the Google Docs Part 2 CBT Nugget, so join us there where we'll show you all about setting up email, some of the Docs, sites, calendar, and some of the other cool features that you have. Quite a bit of information that we saw here in our Google Apps setups. We took a look at what you need to know before you begin about how you create your user accounts in Google Apps before, especially if you're transferring from a mail system. We saw how we signed up and how to verify the domain that we're going to be utilizing that's going to be associated with our Google Premier, Google Apps Premier. We then created some users for James and Jeremy, saw how simple and easy that is. Don't forget, you can also do bulk user applications as well with LDAP and your Lightweight Directory Access Protocol using the Directory Sync program. That's also available to you. We activated the email, show how we changed our MX records on our domain host. Of course, your mileage may vary depending on who you are utilizing. And then, of course, other settings, just some other cool, nifty little things like groups and some other things that are in your administrative control panel that you get with Google Apps. I hope you enjoyed the training today, and I'd like to thank you for joining us.